Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyareshakarine. I wasn't there this morning, the program, and I was here. Watched the video, listened to a few lectures. But my experience with devotees' remembrance of Srila Prabhupada is often, although not always, but often the case is that we tend to speak of how Srila Prabhupada impacted us. One of the reasons is because, if there's a bright light coming your way, then, and you're, to describe it, you're saying that, it's blinding me, or it's very warm, and so on. So we're able to better define something that's very extraordinary, especially something that's very great, by its effect on us. And that's not necessarily a selfish approach to what a sort of a biography is. Doesn't become a autobiography of the speaker, but it's a fair description of how and why we tend to speak about ourselves when we speak in terms of Srila Prabhupada. Sure, there's lots of philosophy, unlimited philosophy about Guru, because in a generic sense, Srila Prabhupada falls into the category of Guru, and there are some descriptions, like those by Jiva Goswami, of Gurus who are really Mahabhagavatas, or Krishna's eternal associates. But nonetheless, even when Gop Kumar is trying to awaken Krishna consciousness in his disciple, then he ends up talking about his journey. And Sanatana Goswami there says that generally a person doesn't speak about himself. But in certain circumstances it becomes necessary. There, when he's talking about to the Mathura Brahmana, then the only way that he can relate his experiences to the Brahman, or his spiritual attainment, is by describing how he got there. Similarly, in a sense, when we're speaking of Srila Prabhupada, and anyone who's follower of Srila Prabhupada, who's a member of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and then even people who aren't formally so, favorable academics, sociologists who've studied the movement, they also are able to communicate what they appreciate of Srila Prabhupada by the impact that it had on them. And of course, to make it brief, Srila Prabhupada changed all of our lives. Now, how he changed our lives and where he brought us from and where we are now, where we're going, well, by Prabhupada's definition, we're all meant to be going in the same place. And we're going back home, back to Godhead. It's a very general description. Even during lunch, we were listening to Srila Prabhupada. Now again, I forget the name of the lecture was We're All Coming From?
We're expansions of Radha.
We're all coming from Radha.
We're all coming from Radha.
Expansions of Radha.
Expansions from Radha. So, and Srila Prabhupada was pointing out there that our business is to become servants of Srimati Radharani and through her serve Krishna. Pretty black and white in where we're meant to go. Just earlier we were singing and I got there's a price to pay for not going to Mangalarti for a few years, and I got the second part of the fifth verse I was missing. But still, it's very clear. What does Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur talk about? What is the Guru? Fifth verse, sixth verse. Shri Radhika Madhava Parya and Nikunja Yunurati Keli Shidhaya. So that's the Guru. Then what's the disciple? And today's class that we listened to was actually quite long. By Srila Prabhupada's standard, it was like almost 50 minutes. But Prabhupada repeated over it. Lord Chaitanya said, Amar Agya Guru. Okay, if everyone's meant to be Guru, then it applies to everyone. But very clearly, yes, when it says that this is the meditation and the identity of the Guru, then that means that it's the family name, the family business, the family tradition comes down to all of us. And Srila Prabhupada was saying that this is what Krishna consciousness movement is. So we're all going there, and Srila Prabhupada definitely brought about a change in everybody's life. He really gave us real value, made life meaningful, because I know for my part, despite you could say material comforts and facilities, but nonetheless it wasn't Jayanatma Suprasidati. So Bhagavatam says like that this is because Jayana Atma Suprasidati, because it satisfies the self, doesn't satisfy the soul. So it doesn't matter what it is, where we came from and what we were doing, and it may have been from different countries and different backgrounds, we're different races and different languages, but ultimately Jayanatma Suprasidati, it didn't satisfy. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. We're here because that didn't satisfy, and this satisfied. I was speaking to one of my godbrothers a few weeks back, and we were discussing one interesting topic, and that was some some years back, devotees, godbrothers talking amongst each other, do you believe that Krishna exists? And this one and that one and that one, and no one said no, but no one had that sort of absolute conviction where they could really say from a point of realization that yes, they do. They had to sort of think about it. How am I going to answer this question? That was the preferred answer. Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, well, I'm also thinking about it, but one thing I know is that Srila Prabhupada really believed that Krishna existed, and I believe he had experience of that. So when I believe Srila Prabhupada, so you could say that by default, then yes, I believe that Krishna exists. So we may have faith, and that faith may vary according to how mature that faith is. But in our experiences, Srila Prabhupada's personal influence was, well, not just a major, but in one sense you could say the influence in bringing us to Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada's reasoning, Prabhupada's authority. The authority was the Vedas, which we never ever heard of up until that time. No one ever heard of the Vedas or Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I had some passing familiarity with, but aside from that, all these other sacred texts. And Srila Prabhupada's conviction, keep in mind, sort of, I mean, in my time, this is, 70, early 70s. And even before me, there were devotees from 1966 on. So there were no or hardly any books, cassettes, cassette is a different way. That's how we used to listen to things in those days. They don't really exist anymore. There were audio recordings. Audio recordings meant that every temple would receive 2 or 3 every week or 2 weeks. So, there were a lot of devotees in the temples. So it wasn't that we listened to Prabhupada's talks during prasadam, morning prasadam especially. It wasn't unusual that ultimately we'd memorize verses or go out on traveling Sankirtan for 2 months, and the temple president gave you 2 cassettes. So when we came back, we were giving Bhagavatam class, we were just repeating that. That was like going on and on and on and on, because that's all we had to listen to. But nonetheless, mostly, in addition to that great influence, was this parampara that came down. Those who associated with Prabhupada and what they communicated to others, who communicated to others, and like that. So Prabhupada said how to cook, how to make samosas, how do you brush your teeth, how to wash your teeth, how do you put on tilak, how do you dress, so many different things. What do you do for a cold? Everything is coming from Prabhupada. So all of a sudden, we had one person who just absolutely defined your life. He was really the foundation of our lives, and we believed in Krishna because Prabhupada believed in Krishna. He gave us all the logical reasons why Krishna was God, but it wasn't that Srila Prabhupada just sort of dropped some info in our laps and then disappeared, and we would have been able to continue like that. I don't think Krishna consciousness movement would have gotten very far. So this change that Srila Prabhupada brings about in all of our lives, and I mean, for most of you, Srila Prabhupada's presence comes through what he would always refer to us as his Vani, as his instructions. So you know all the different formats in which that instruction appears, Prabhupada's instructions manifests. And for a few devotees, a few of the 5,000, the initiated disciples that Srila Prabhupada had. In fact, I just heard the accurate number, 4,000 some amount. We used the number 5,000. A few of those had very intense association with Srila Prabhupada. They lived with him, they served him, they were secretaries, they traveled with him, eat with him on rare occasions. Generally, Prabhupada ate alone, and they were personally trained by him. Srila Prabhupada used this word, training. So he had 12 GBCs. Each GBC was to spend 1 month a year. I mean, they did spend 1 month a year with Srila Prabhupada for him to train them, because that was Prabhupada's principle. The GBC trains, he trains the GBCs, GBCs train the presidents, and it goes down like that. And for most devotees, Prabhupada's presence was in a Bhagavatam class, perhaps on a morning walk, but rare. Here in Sridham Mayapur, or in the festivals that Srila Prabhupada held, where he invited everyone to come, and even when he told everyone to come in his last days, all the devotees in ISKCON should come and be with him. Even then, for the most part, most didn't have the opportunity. The message never really got that far, and even when it did, it didn't. Anyway, so, but still, that presence, Srila Prabhupada's presence on the planet, had such an influence, a very, very powerful influence, very difficult to describe. One day I was chanting japa in the temple room, not the temple room, in the, what they call the library. There's hardly any books in it, but I can call it the library anyway. It's usually more the preaching room in Soho Street. And I had this really wonderful realization of how Srila Prabhupada touching this planet actually affected all of his disciples and kept at bay the influence of the modes of nature. Now in Bhagavatam it says that as long as Krishna's feet touched the earth planet, Kali Yuga could not actually exert its influence. Krishna sva dharma pagati dharma jnana visaha. So, but as soon as Krishna left, along with his own abode along with religious principles and so on. Then immediately Kali Yuga set in. And you can see that that effect is not just imaginary, because when Srila Prabhupada left, a lot of devotees who were sustained mainly by that energy and not by Prabhupada's teachings, they didn't continue on their the type of commitment. Let me say it like that. They didn't continue on the type of commitment that they'd had before. It had become something quite different, their Krishna consciousness. So it was Prabhupada's presence. I'm just getting around to point. Prabhupada's presence was a very life-defining experience. You experience it in one way, and although Srila Prabhupada downplayed the Vapu, I understand the philosophy as well, but it's not just that insignificant. Prabhupada would say it's not important. It may not be that important in a relative sense, but it's certainly important when you have it. So if you don't have it, then yes, Vani fulfills everything. But if you do have it, of course one should not neglect what it is that Srila Prabhupada has come to give. So in that sense, those devotees who really had that association, it really, in one sense, redefined their life in the way that Srila Prabhupada defined their lives. So in the same way, Prabhupada's disappearance sort of redefined their life, is that person who you talk to, see, hear from, or just feel his presence and know that there's always one person you can go to who tells the absolute truth. So, and there's no two ways about it. So when that goes, we have Srila Prabhupada's Vani, but we have a lot of different approaches or a lot of opinions as to what that Vani means sometimes. We're not disagreeing about Krishna being God. We're agreed on that Vani, but we know that in our Krishna consciousness movement there are many opinions on things that Prabhupada said, especially when Prabhupada said different things or apparently contradictory things on the same topic. So, 1977, now that's 47 years. That's coming on to 50 years ago, which is, in one sense, a long time. Many of you weren't born at that time. You were in different bodies, perhaps in different bodies in this movement, perhaps in different bodies elsewhere as Vaishnavas. In any case, it's you learn to readjust. If you lose your hand, after a while you learn how to adjust. You learn how to live without your hand. Yes, life goes on because the soul is not dependent on the hand, but and we learn how to function, but it's never quite the same. So And how is it? I'm sure many devotees discussed how it is. I know for me, I was in Chicago that day. I mean, we knew Srila Prabhupada was sick. Srila Prabhupada was already sick when we were here at Gaur Purnima. He only gave one class, welcoming address that usually Srila Prabhupada gave, either one or two. And then after that, it was just devotees giving class, and Srila Prabhupada went to Mumbai, and then we were getting information from devotees who were staying with him. Satsarup Maharaj, I remember it was one person, we would get, again, cassettes. Another one, I remember, was Bharadwaj Prabhu, who's singing Prabhupada liked. In those times when Prabhupada was here in 1977, he would call for two people to chant, Bharadwaj and Hamsaduta Maharaj. So he liked their singing. And yes, so we were in Chicago, which was used to be a YMCA, so we had this big temple room, and actually I was just sitting alone in the temple room. And despite the fact that Prabhupada was sick, very sick, it never really crosses anybody's mind or it never crossed anybody's mind that Srila Prabhupada would leave this world, because we considered that Prabhupada could do anything that he wanted. But that's another topic. And I can't remember why, but I remember somehow I was chanting my rounds after breakfast, and then received that information. So it was very much it's a different experience. It's like, it was probably the closest thing to a near-death experience. In other words, it's like dying. That person who was really nurtured by Srila Prabhupada's presence now has to tatadihantara prati, take another body. May look like the same body, but now it's something that's just nurtured solely by Vani, which means his teachings, following Prabhupada's orders in terms of spreading Krishna consciousness and the mission and the goals that he set out. So there is an English poet, John Donne. Anybody knows he was blind? That's because you're American. No? I mean, even in Canada we learned, you must know.
I've heard of him.
Huh?
I've heard of him.
Hare Krishna. John Donne. He was blind. He was blind. He was very religious, and his daughter was his secretary. So she wrote. So, For Whom the Bell Tolls, maybe you read that book by Hemingway. Well, that title comes. No man is an island, entire of itself. Ask not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. That's how it ends. So it's a sonnet. And so that beginning is very famous. No man is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a part of the main, part of the promontory, as it were. So ask not for whom the bell tolls from thee. So in our context, when we're talking about Srila Prabhupāda's disappearance, it also means for us a type of something that is gone in our lives, but if you go looking for it, then you find it. So Srila Prabhupāda's disappearance, it also brings about a whole a change of life for us. And when we're celebrating Srila Prabhupāda's disappearance, now the bell's ringing, or the church bell is ringing, so someone has passed away. But it's not just someone else is dead, because if that's what the poem is about, because if in humanity we're all just like one entity, then if a part of us dies, then if one person dies, that means a part of us dies. And similarly, Srila Prabhupāda's disappearance, the celebration of Srila Prabhupāda's disappearance, also indicates how, in one sense, a part of us dies, but tatādhyantara prapta dhiras tatrana muyati. But there's no death, but rather it means simply a rebirth. Every celebration of rebirth, sometimes we use the word reaffirmation of who we actually are, who that person is that Srila Prabhupada changed, and how we're getting closer and closer to being that person that Prabhupada came to make us be. Prabhupada set us on a track, and how much closer and closer are we getting to that destination? And as Prabhupada said in that class we're listening to, that we become servants of Srimati Radharani, and through her we're serving Krishna. So it's something to always think about, better than we think about it at Prabhupada's disappearance, because you'll have lots of those in your life, rather than in our own disappearance, because you'll only have one of those. And that's a slow way of evaluating our progress. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Sisi Panchatattva ki Jai. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi.